Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dylan again and welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to continue and do the third video for face tracking. This time around we're going to be adding a mesh to the existing implementation that we had, and what's going to allow us to do is basically it's going to map our face into an actual 3D mesh, and ARKit is going to be sending us vertices, they're going to be sending us UVs, they're also going to be sending us other information that is going to allow us to map it to our face. So let's go into Unity and check it out. Alright guys, so let's add the mesh filter that we're going to need in order to add a mesh to our expression configuration and expression manager. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new variable, and this is going to be of type mesh filter, and we'll just say mesh filter, and then we'll make it serializable. I'm also going to create a new mesh, and we'll just call it mesh. Perfect. Now if we go down here, what I'm gonna do is when we actually add an anchor to the face, I want to also not only update the position and rotation, but also create a new mesh. So to do that, I'm gonna look at the example that Unity provided, which is in the Unity ARKit plugin, and the class is called Unity AR Face Mesh Manager. So if I go down here, I can see that they're doing something already. So I'm just going to copy lines 42 through 50, explain to you what that is doing. So I'm just going to put it under the face edit, and we don't have a face mesh variable because we just call it mesh. Let's just call it face mesh. Okay, and then we can just go back down here. And so what we're doing is when we add an anchor for the face, when the face is actually detected, we're going to create a new mesh. And not only we're going to create a new mesh, but we're going to use the geometry that the ARKit is reporting on the face, because ARKit is storing the vertices, is calculating that for us, and it's creating a mesh in runtime. Not only that, but it's also changing the position. It's changing basically everything that your face is doing. It's basically going to store it in a face geometry. The other thing that it's also giving us is the UVs. So we got the texture coordinates, and we also have the triangles, which comes from the triangle indices. Then we also need to assign the mesh object and update it. So we have a face mesh, and we're recalculating everything, and then we're calculating the bounds and the normals, and then we're assigning our new mesh to the mesh filter. Perfect. Now let's go to the update, and in the update we need to do basically the same thing. So which instead of creating a new mesh, we're just going to update the vertices. So what I'm going to do is on the update, we're just going to do similar to what they did. And in both of these instances, we want to make sure that the mesh filter is being set. Perfect. And not the mesh filter, the actual mesh is created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in this case I don't think we need it because it is going to be created, we know that. But in the case below, let's go back and undo that, and undo that as well. And in the case below, we do want to check to make sure that the mesh is being created before we try to access it. So we just say if face mesh does not equal to null, then we're basically going to update the vertices, and we're going to recalculate everything. So the UVs and the triangles as well. Perfect. And we can also move this area to a new method. So I'm just going to do my extract, and we can call this guy, so rename it, and then we can just say update mesh. So we're updating the mesh, we're passing the anchor data, and then we're doing the same thing there. And then we can also do the same thing right here. And yep, I think that it's gonna work. Yeah, because I'm gonna create a new one, and then I'll basically, once that's created, I'll call my update mesh, which is gonna check to make sure that that is being set. So what I'm gonna do, instead of doing that here, let's move the if statement that checks to make sure that that is null inside of the method. Perfect. So what's gonna happen is when the face gets added, then as long as my face mesh has been created, I'm gonna update the vertices, the UVs, the triangles, and recalculate the bounds and the normals. The same thing on the face updated. As long as I created a mesh, then I'll be able to update the mesh information. Okay, perfect. We can just clean this code up. Okay, and that all looks fine. Let me just look at the example one more time just to make sure. So that's what we just did. We assigned it to the face mesh, the mesh filter. And let me make sure that we're doing that here as well, which I didn't see it. We actually didn't do that, and we need to do that. So we need to say mesh filter equal face mesh, and this is gonna be mesh, which is what we did on this one, just only when we add the anchor. And then when we remove, we can set everything to null. And when we remove it, we'll just set the mesh filter to null and also the face mesh to null. All right, I think everything looks great. So let's actually go into Unity. We need to add the mesh filter to our game object. So I'm gonna go open it up, and I'm gonna click on Add Component for my expression manager. So we'll need to do a mesh filter. We also need to do a mesh render. So I'm gonna move the mesh filter up. I'm also gonna move the mesh renderer up. And in my materials, I'm gonna create a new material, and I'm just gonna call it default. And I'm not gonna change anything about it. I'll just leave it white. Go back to the expression manager and just drag and drop the default material. So now we should have a material associated with element 0 in the mesh renderer, and then the mesh should be null or empty. And I'm just gonna drag the mesh filter to the mesh filter so we have it associated with a reference. And that should do it as far as like the inspector is concerned for the expression manager. So now we need to go back into Visual Studio Code, and we also need to make some modifications on the update mesh. So if you look at the Unity AR Face Mesh Manager, they're actually modifying the game object transform position, local position, and the local rotation. And that's because this has a mesh associated with it, so we need to keep track of the position and rotation as we move our face. So I'm gonna do the same thing and update my update mesh method with those two lines. So one to update the local position and one to update the local rotation, which we're gonna use the utility to transform the matrix to a vector 3, and also these to get a quaternion. All right, so now we're ready to go. So I'm gonna go back into Unity and go to File, Build, and I'm just gonna build our project, and I'll show you how it looks on my phone now. All right, guys, so let me open the app. And you can see that now I'm getting a mesh is being drawn. And if I smile, if I do my mad face, looks scary. I still have my eyeballs. I can move my eyebrows, can move my nose, and it's tracking everything. Yeah, I'm just having way too much fun. And there's a lot of things going on. Like we added the eyes, we have the position, the rotation, we have the mesh as we we did in this video. We also have the facial expressions that are getting calculated with my minimum and my maximums. And there we go, there's the facial expression. So that's everything that I wanted to do in this video, guys. If you have any questions, let me know through the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Thank you, guys.